Good morning from the Gulf of Mexico. We have just entered the Gulf Safety Fairway. When you get closer to the shore, I mean, when you're not out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, there are fairways that keep everybody out of trouble. And we are just entering the outer ends of that, headed for Houston right now with our barge. And it is gorgeous. It's so nice because you really appreciate good weather after you've had, well, in our case, almost a week and a half of not so good weather. And so it's been wonderful. I don't know if you can see it here, but we got two outbound ships. They're on the other side of the fairway. The fairway will be set up like a road in North America where one side, you know, we pass everybody port to port, like you do, like driving a car in North America. But anyway, it is gorgeous. Like I say, I haven't filmed hardly anything at all, and not hardly, I have not filmed anything at all. It's been rough and miserable, and quite frankly, there's not a lot to see. Some of you people say, oh no, we want to see it when it's rough. All you see is the boat just going like this, you know, and there's nothing to see. And it's miserable, and that's the way it is. But the good thing is that when it is rough, the whole boat gets cleaned very well because of all the water that comes over the deck. So it is, even though the sun is just coming off the horizon, it's just after 8. I just did my 8 o'clock position. Gordon's there running the boat, and he's watching it while I'm talking to you guys. And so you say 8 o'clock, the sun's just coming up. Actually, we run the boat on our time, which would be the East Coast time. I believe over here, they're at least 1 hour behind us, maybe even 2, but I think it's only 1. But I don't know, we'll find out when we get there. But anyway, yeah, so when we talk to pilots and the agents and stuff like that, we have to talk in terms of local time. But as far as the boat goes, and as far as us switching watches and all that, we just keep it simple. We do our same reports that we do to our office. We do those on the same time schedule that we've always done, and the crew doesn't have to get up a different hour early or whatever, and that sort of stuff. So anyway, our plan is to go in here, and tomorrow we're moving right now. It's funny, the Gulf of Mexico is really strange in that, you know, you say, oh well, you know, there's the Gulf Stream. Well, that really kind of develops underneath where we are. But coming over here, we've seen, you know, 9.6 knots towing this barge, and we've seen, you know, a lot of time are just 7 knots. And in fact, in the last 2 hours, we just gained 2 knots just coming here. So there's a lot of movement that's happening out here. Currently, we're in just over 1,000 feet of water right here, maybe 992, I think I saw on the chart. You can see there's a platform over there, another one over there. There's platforms all over, and people might think these are drill rigs. They're not drill rigs. The drill ships come and drill and do everything, and then they set up a production platform there. And there's all kinds of, when you look at the chart, there's all kinds of underground pipes that run over to all these places, and they manage it there and then send it off ashore that way. But anyway, for a long time we were in about 4,500 to 5,000 feet of water, but now we're starting to shoal up to 1,000 feet. anyway, we'll keep going, and we are just so happy. Everybody's been taking the turn walking around on deck, just to kind of get outside because it's been so miserable lately. I was talking to Chief Keith, and he was saying how he slept so well last night because this gentle little sway of the boat has been so different than the violent movements that we've had that has made us less than the ideal sleeping conditions. But you can see everything is totally clean, and that's because the whole deck's been underwater for so long. It's gonna get noisy back here, but I'll show you what everything looks like down here. So obviously the doghouse is put away. The noises you hear are the exhaust fans. We have 2 intakes and 2 exhaust fans here. And I say exhaust, they're pumping hot engine room air out of the engine room. They don't pump exhaust, they're exhausting the hot air. But here's our big winch. Barge is way back there. As you can see, this deck too got a really good washing. Everything's nice and clean back here. So just to let you know, you see the push gear made up here? We just make that up and tighten it up so that the waves, it won't get washed overboard. Because if it got washed overboard, we didn't know about it, it could ultimately end up in the propeller. So we keep that tight on that drum. This right here, we've got about five and a half lays out right now. And every day we move it just a little bit, you know, maybe a foot or two, so that where it's moving on the donut, this is the Texas bar, and that roller is called the donut. We don't want the wire to move for long periods of time on the same spot right on the donut. So we call it easing the wire. So we ease the wire every once in a while. I try every day during my morning watch, but in bad weather I can't always do it, but I try to walk around the boat just to make sure that there isn't anything that I'm missing. Make sure everything looks right. The other day in the really rough seas, the bows under the water most of the times go boom, 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 and seas are hitting over here. And we had a pod of dolphins just swimming with us like it was a beautiful flat day in the anchorage somewhere. They couldn't care less how rough it was. And I'm like, man, we're gonna hit one of these things. I've fought that for 20 or 30 years being out here, and I don't think anyone's ever hit a dolphin. They know what's going on. They can figure all that out. Or if they can't, they probably won't be around too long. But anyway, that's it. Just wanted to show you what it's like on a beautiful morning, just entering the fairway here on our way up to Galveston Bay. And then when we get up there, I'll try to get some footage for you as well. But we're gonna round up on the barge, and I would imagine we'll get in push gear, have a pilot on board, and an assist tug, and take it up the Houston ship channel up to Houston. Gonna load that barge with a whole bunch of jet fuel, and take it back and take it over to Tampa this time. So that's all the news that's fit to print. Thank you guys for watching.
A few moments later.
Just a gorgeous day that you saw before, now awful. Amazing how things change. It's not really bad, but compared to the way it was a few hours ago, It went from flat calm to this like in about 20 minutes. Amazing how the Gulf kicks up the way it does. But what's interesting, every once in a while you can see it. Most of the waves are going this way, but every once in a while you'll see these other confused ones going that way. See that? Those right there, they're going that way. And these over here are going that way. So when the boat gets in step, right now it's in step, it's not so bad. Then every once in a while it'll get picked up and thrown on its side. They see that? That one's all rolling that way. You see that big swell going that way right there? Here's another one. Now you can see this one over here. Oh, no, that's still going that way. And every once in a while you'll see these other ones that come across sideways. Now that I have the camera, now there's one right there. Now that I have the camera, I won't be able to show it to you. It won't happen. Oh, there's another one that's going that way. So you can see a very confused sea. Okay, so I thought I'd break out the old this electronic chart here, show you what's going on. This is us coming into Galveston. Galveston's the entrance, or the first part you got to go to when you're en route to Houston. And this green line is a route, and this line right here that I've highlighted was our actual track line. So we were coming down here and they weren't ready for us, so there were still some things they had to work out. So we diverted and came down here and turned around and came back, and this is quite a distance here. This is you know, this is, oops, I mean a few hours. So I don't know why that's not highlighting again for me. There we go. So yeah, look at that. No luck. All right. Anyway, so we came down here and it took us another couple hours to come up here and get back in the channel. But if you look at all these AIS targets, all of these right over here and all of these right here, those are all light tankers waiting to go into Houston to load. Everybody thinks that, oh, we need to drill, baby, drill. Well, we've been drilling. Apparently America's been producing more oil than it ever has at any time. And these are all ships that are taking the oil out to other places in the world. So those are not U.S. flag ships that are going to other U.S. ports. But anyway, coming in the Houston, coming in the Galveston entrance here, there's what we call the fairway. And you kind of get rid of that. This right here is the entrance, and so this is all the outbound traffic going here, and this is all the inbound traffic going here. And it tightens up as you get closer to what will ultimately be the jetties. And we run outside of the channel. Sometimes people will call this the reserve channel. And we'll run over here like this because we don't need to be where the deep draft, I mean, there's so many ships that are coming and going. We don't need to be there. So we're coming in here outside. And what I wanted to show you was probably the best job I've ever seen done. I wish I could say that I did it, but it was actually probably one of Luke's last jobs working with me. I'll tell you about that in a little while, or maybe I've already told you about it, not really sure. But anyway, in this, we had to come up here, and if you see, once we get through here, we had to get behind all these other ships, and there's a couple other ones that were here at the time too. Get up here while we're towing the barge, and there was a 1.6 knot ebb tide and 20 knot wind blowing against it this way. He's towing this light barge on a wire. We had to roll in and flop on the barge right here, and so the current would want to take the tug this way, but the wind would want to take the tug that way. And if you look at our mark here, he came right over, and actually that right there is where he rounded up. If I zoom in here, you can see this is where he rounded up on the barge, and then this is where we ended up, and we sent the tankerman up, and the tankerman dropped the anchor, and the anchor went there. And then while the tide was ebbing, we went there. Now the tide is flooding, and so now it's pushing us up this way. So that's why that's changed. But I've never done that before. We may have done that when we had the whole anchorage somewhere, like in Marcus Hook. I might have done that years ago. But Luke got this right on, and it was really, I don't even know that he was trying. He went right over that way, and I radioed to him and said, all right, Luke, we're right in the spot. And he rounded up, and it worked out perfect. And Man, what a way to well, he's going to be doing his own thing now, and he's really leaving us with good memories. All right, so we got to bring you guys up to speed. So many of you may know Luke. Luke has sailed with me since I went down to Puerto Rico. So he's been with the company for a while. And if you remember, Luke was in the Marine Corps. Was over in Afghanistan for a while and came back, went to school and got his license and started working tugboat companies and worked his way up. And then I was lucky enough to get with him, and he's been one of the greatest mates I've ever had. A great shipmate as well, too, but phenomenal boat handler, one of the best there is. And he, even years ago, when we were in Puerto Rico, he was ready to be a captain back then. And he chose not to do that. He said that he enjoyed sailing with me and that he thought that there was still more that he could learn. And that in itself, I think, shows a lot of awareness. He's very cognitive of what the job entails. And like I say, his boat handling skills are second to none. But he's very much aware of the fact that, there's boat handling is only 10% of the job, and so he utilized his time with me to hopefully learn some other things about how to manage a crew and that sort of stuff. And anyway, so here we are. We're coming through the anchorage. Luke is probably shortening up right now. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video and speed this whole process up until there's a little bit more action. Stand by a second. All right, so we've sped this up a whole bunch of times. But anyway, we're coming through the anchorage. You can see the barge is getting closer. Little by little, Luke is shortening up. And so he can't bring it right up because there's still, you can still see there's a little bit of heaving on the anchorage there. And so if you get it too short, you have to go very slow because it will snap on the wire, and so you don't want to do that. But we keep getting closer and closer, and as we get closer, he and I are making decisions of where we want to do the whole rounding up process. Now you can see he's going back there, and he'll start winding up the rest of it. And when we're in the right spot, I'll let him know, and he'll round up on this thing. I think it's worth mentioning that I'd said it before, but there's like a 1.6 knot ebb, so we are driving into the ebb tide right now, but there's about 15 or 20 knots of wind coming up behind us. So as I've talked about before, the problem is that you have the tide affects things that are like a loaded barge, or in this case the tug, because the tug is like 14 feet deep, where the barge is probably only 3 or 4 feet deep because there's nothing in it. But the barge is going to be a big sail, and so he's got to do all this. And I'll just shut up and let you guys watch this as he rounds up and does an awesome job. One of his last jobs with me. And there we go. We got it back to regular speed here. So we'll have the guys up, and what we do is, because we, being rough and everything, we don't carry a man on the barge, or the tankermen are not on the barge right now. So we have to carry them on the boat with us. So we leave these what we call towing straps. It's a big loop that we leave on either side of the barge, so we can round up on either side. You'll see it halfway down the barge there, white line that's there. And as we come around here, the guys in the bow will have a boat hook, and they'll pull that over, and they put that on the H bit, and that will give us something that we can tighten up on the wire and send a tankerman up, and then we can start making up, putting up a stern line and doing all that sort of stuff. So here he is. He's backing. He's probably backing on that port engine to get us a little closer. Back on the port engine. Maybe clutching ahead on the starboard engine with a lot of left wheel, because he needs to, because he's still at an angle. See, the tugboat is not parallel with the barge yet, but he's got to get over there. And one thing that Luke has always been so much better at than I ever was, when For years, I'd round up on a barge and I'd want to get it done so quick. I'd come around, and it's you're really dangerous until you're parallel with the barge, because that way if the barge takes off, it'll just pull you backwards. But if it pulls you when you're halfway through your turn, it has a potential of tripping you or flipping rolling the tugboat over. So I would come over there and you go flying into the barge, and the many barges have many dents from many people that have done that. And Luke is just phenomenal with his patience. He just waits and waits, takes his time, and in doing that, we didn't know it at the time, but in doing that, he's also, remember, the now we're what we call heads and tails. So the barge's bow is in the opposite direction of the tugboat's bow. So while he's doing this, and then what he'll do is once he gets over there, he'll hand the controls off to me while I'm in the wheelhouse so that he can start paying out the winch, and I'll start driving up to the mark, because I can see where the line is and where the guys are to pick up that white line that's just coming into frame right now. And so I'll be doing that. But the whole time I'm driving here, the forward movement of the barge is getting degraded, not only by the ebb tide, but also us working against there. And this was the miracle that happened on this day, was that as we got there, we didn't realize it, but we were just drifting on to exactly the point that we needed to be. And not only that, usually sometimes you do this and you're still moving a knot or two. By the time we get all this done and we're all set and we send the tankerman up there, the barge had 0.1 knots on it, and we were exactly on the spot. And that's where I yelled up to the tankerman, and I was just like, yeah, drop the anchor right now. So I don't know if he had time to put on his hydraulics or if he just free spooled the anchor down or whatever, but it went down, and then we kind of bumped it ahead to start having the barge fall backwards and bite into the ground. And once we call it fetched up, once the barge stops moving, once we got all fetched up, we were just like, I can't believe it. We landed exactly perfectly. Luke's last job with me before he goes. So anyway, oh God, I can't tell a story for anything. So anyway, he's been with me for a long time, and he's always stayed with us. Well, anyway, he's had a baby now, and his family's getting bigger, and he's been ready to go for years. And he wanted to stay on a little longer, but the office needs him. They have places they need him. And so he has been working over on another boat that he's going to be at later on. And he came back just to help us out with this. And I think probably tomorrow or the next day, or at least by Wednesday or something like that, they'll probably fly him out to his boat, and he'll be captain over there, and he's going to have a fine career. And it's just really cool that one of the last jobs he ever did was probably one of the coolest jobs. And it's funny, I've been making these videos for a long time, and one of the things I always say is that a lot of the videos that get a lot of views and people seem to like a lot, I think have more to do with the title and the thumbnail than the actual content. I think that some of the best videos I have that show the hardest parts of the job, or when what we do we consider being done really well, I think that there's a very small market for that, and this might be that. I don't know. Maybe people won't find this that fascinating, but he did a phenomenal job, and it's really good. And we're gonna miss him terribly. He's been a big brother to the crew, and just I want to say student because I've taught him a lot, but he had all the stuff. I just had to make sure that he was putting all of his skills in the right order, and he got it all squared away, and he's amazing. I wish him the best of luck. Anyway, you know what I'll do is I'll speed this up as well, and then you can see what happens at the end. All right, so definitely better now that it's sped up, or was sped up anyway. I've slowed it back down again to show you that one thing that we have to do when you tow a barge, especially when it's unmanned, offshore like this, we drag what we call a retrieval line, and it's a line that floats, and we it's got a small line, then a bigger line, and then it eventually goes up and goes to an emergency pickup. You can see the wire right at the top of the screen there, where the yellow and the black is. There's a big wire. That's an emergency pennant that runs on the outside of everything. It goes all the way up the length of the barge. And so the idea is that if we ever broke the wire, we'd have to go back and get it. You couldn't lift the wire up because it weighs a couple tons, you know. So you'd go over and you'd find this floating line behind there, and you would pull that up, and then you would get that on board, and the little line would go to the big line. The big line, you would get that aboard, and you would eventually pull it until you broke all the pieces of retaining rope and that wire that runs along the outside of the deck. You would one by one pull all the safeties off, you know, by the power of the tugboat and the weight of the barge, and you would have another way of towing it. So that's what that is. But what happens is, usually when you round up on a barge, the first thing you do before you do anything is you got to get that buoy out of the water. There's usually a buoy at the end. In this particular one, the buoy sank, so I don't really know what happened to that. But you'll see Cameron's over there pulling up the line, and he'll end up pulling up the buoy, and it's right full of water. But that's usually the first thing that we got to do, because we can't use an assist tug, and I can't drive ahead or anything like that, because eventually all that line's going to get back, and we don't want to. I say get it in the wheel. Usually getting line in our wheel isn't a big deal because the wheels are so big it just chews everything up. But what it could do is it could deploy that whole thing. You know, it would start the propellers would just start chopping it up, or worst case scenario, it would start winding up all that line, and it would start pulling the wire right off the barge. So we got to get it up, and so I wanted to show you Cameron doing that. But while he's doing that, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't figured it out yet, you know, we're in this business. You live by the orders you get. And we had been bunkering in New York for quite a while, and it looks like our tug now has a new contract where we're moving jet fuel for the military. And we go down to Houston, and we bring it to wherever they want it. And so that's what we're doing right now. And so that's why we'll see how often I get to be able to post things, only because you know, when we were doing 7 or 8 bunker jobs a day versus spending, you know, 15 days going around from the East Coast around to the Gulf Coast and that sort of stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you get anything out of these videos and you like them, maybe you throw us a like, a subscribe. Really helps the channel out. And you could join us on Patreon. We'd love that. We'd love to have you over there. Patrons get free ad-free content and early access to videos and private videos as well. And we'd love to also see you. Don't forget, I've got all kinds of content coming out new every day on, well, not every day, but every once in a while on SV Paquita. So even if sailing channels aren't your thing, hopefully you'll see that I'm not a regular sailor. I'm a tugboat guy who happens to have a sailboat. All right, you guys take care. Be safe. And as always, I'll see you on the one.